Welcome to The Man Who Woke Up the Buddha. We're in Season 3, Sid Gets Religion. And this is Episode 4, A Duck Out of Water. Previously, after meeting Polly and going to Sid's radiation treatment, Casper and his grandfather went for a walk around a college campus, where they came upon some bhakti yogis chanting Hare Krishna. Sid was intrigued. Casper was bewildered. Casper ran in the door yelling, "Mom, Grandma, Big Sid and I learned how to chant Hare Krishna." "Hare Krishna!" Polly shouted out from the living room. "Polly's converted to Hinduism?" Sid asked, walking in behind Casper. "I better let Kesey know." Keys! Polly said, excited that Kesey was with them. Hoping that Polly had as short an attention span as he did, Sid quickly asked, "So Polly, where did you learn to say Hare Krishna?" "Krishna, Krishna," Polly responded half-heartedly, still thinking about Kesey. "Gee, how many words can a parrot say, Grandpa?" Casper asked, walking quietly into what he now considered Polly's room. "Up to 300, a voice called out from the next room, or even more. Di and Carolyn were sitting at the kitchen table, nonplussed, as usual, by the predictable unpredictability of the household. "Did you know Zoe was here?" Di asked. Carolyn just shrugged. "Zee! Polly yelled. Casper couldn't believe Zoe had taught Polly to say part of her name already. "I need to rest," Sid sighed, slowly shaking his recently radiated head. "Jake and I will drop off Zoe on the way home," Carolyn said. "Come on, kids." "Bite off more than you could chew there, big guy?" Di said after they'd left. But Sid was already in his tilting, swiveling orange chair, asleep and dreaming. Many years ago, more than 6 decades to be more or less precise, young Sid read a book called The Bear That Wasn't. It was about a bear who'd gone to hibernate in his favorite cave, but over the winter, a manufacturing plant was built right next to the cave. When the bear wandered sleepily outside the next spring, a big burly guy with a badge that said foreman told him to get to work. "But I'm a bear," the bear pointed out. "No, you're not a bear," the man said. "You're just a silly man who needs a shave and wears a fur coat." The bear kept insisting that he was a bear, so the foreman reluctantly agreed to let him plead his case to upper management. As they went up the corporate ladder to the office of the first vice president and then the second vice president and then the third vice president, the bear explained why he shouldn't be assembling widgets, for the simple reason that he was a bear. But all of them insisted he wasn't a bear. He was just a silly man who needed a shave and wore a fur coat. Finally, the bear made it to the office of the kindly CEO, who decided that the best way to free him from his delusional psychosis, technically lycanthropy, was to take him to meet a real bear, and suggested that in the meantime he consider joining the union. So they went to the circus, where, unfortunately, the first bear they saw was an obnoxious little one bicycling around the 3 rings, who laughed and said, "You're not a bear. You're just a silly man who needs a shave and wears a fur coat." So the bear reluctantly went to work in the factory. The story doesn't say whether he joined the union or not, but rest assured, there's a happy, if poignant, ending. When Sid woke up from his nap, he realized that the bear's predicament captured a conundrum he'd been dealing with subconsciously. "I didn't realize the Buddha had conundrums," he thought. "Of course we have conundrums. I still can't figure out why humans get a kick out of hating each other," the Buddha thought. "Well, if I have a conundrum," Sid thought, "I guess the Buddha does." Your logic is impeccable," the Buddha sighed, rolling his etheric eyes. Rising creakily from his chair, Sid got a glass of chocolate milk and went into Di's study, where she was writing yet another letter to the planning board, telling them it was time to, quote, "stop effing around and do something already." "Di," Sid said, "you believe I'm the Buddha, right?" Di looked up and was about to say, "Sid, denial isn't just a river in Egypt. Face it, you're an ordinary guy with a not very ordinary terminal cancer. If it helps you keep your spirits up to think..." But she stopped, realizing to her shock and awe that he was serious. "Well, big guy," she said gently, "you'll always be Sid to me." "But I am the Buddha," he said. "You're both right," the Buddha thought. but perhaps you should consult a higher authority. Could you give me a ride to the park? Sid asked. Di hesitated. Sun will be setting soon, Sid. Why don't you just stay here? We'll have a glass of wine, eat dinner, watch a stupid movie, and relax for the evening. Wizard of Oz? Sid asked hopefully. He never tired of wondering what made the Wicked Witch water soluble. I was thinking of that documentary on the American Revolution. There's a difference, the Buddha thought. We should wait till Zoe's here to watch that one, so she can explain what's going on, Sid said. Good point. Well, I still want to go to the park, just for half an hour or so. Okay, Di sighed, getting up from her chair and giving him a hug, before going to get her coat. When Sid got to the park, he went to his favorite bench by the duck pond. Not one of the brand new ones made of some high-tech, water-resistant pretend wood. He preferred the last remaining one with the gray, weathered slats of real wood, with lichen growing on it. There was a chill in the air as the sun set on what Casper called a Native American summer day. He was glad Di had made him wear his coat and a scarf, and after pulling the coat even tighter, he started thinking about his conundrum. Basically, it was that people who came to see him were afraid they'd find him in pain or totally out of it, or worse, had lost his sense of humor. When they asked how he was feeling, he said a lot better since he realized he was the Buddha. But that was just the kind of thing they expected Sid to say. So they'd laugh and move on to discuss the usual subjects: stocks, sports, and grandkids. A few visitors knew enough about Buddhism to test him by asking if he was free of suffering, going to save all sentient beings, or planned to spend the rest of his life sitting under a tree. All he could do in response was shake his head, shrug his shoulders, act as if he were contemplating deeply, and mumble, apologetically, which, as we've mentioned, but he hadn't realized at first, sounded enough like Om to give them pause. Nobody seemed to notice that his convictions were far less impassioned. His verbal skewers had softer edges, and his laugh, while as uproarious as ever, ended on a higher note, drifting invisibly like a blessing to parts unknown, as if he were distributing his endlessly amusing, otherworldly goods. You okay, Mr. Sid? Sid looked up and saw LJ, his favorite park person. What? Oh, I'm fine, LJ. Why do you ask? He looked sad. No, I'm fine, LJ, Sid assured him. How about I buy you a cup of coffee? LJ asked, taking out the $10 bills Sid had given him the day before. No, really, I'm good, LJ. Di will be back to pick me up in a few minutes. Hey, Sid said, changing the subject. Where are you planning to spend the winter? Woody and Renee are letting me stay in the basement of the hardware store, as long as I don't tell anybody. I have a key to the bulkhead, and a mattress and blanket under the stairs. No one else knows about it, well, except Santa, of course. Of course, Sid agreed. From Halloween till Christmas, there was a huge Santa in the window of the hardware store. He gets to stay up there until February, but then they put him back in the basement, so it's good I'll be there to keep him company. He knew the deal when he signed up, the Buddha reflected with a bit of tough love. Spending months in a dark basement, go with the territory if you get to be a Santa. But they don't want me to tell any of my friends on the street because they come in and steal my stuff, get cash to buy drugs. I don't really mind, but Woody says I need to learn to have boundaries. Do you know what that means, LJ? Sid asked kindly. No, LJ answered honestly. Probably just as well, the Buddha thought. I just don't see why a drug that helps people so good makes them feel so bad. Do you, Mr. Sid? It was a close vote, as I remember, the Buddha reflected. It doesn't make sense, Sid agreed. Then, sensing it was time to keep LJ's train of thought from going in one side of a tunnel and not coming out the other, he asked, You never go upstairs? Well, downstairs I can arrange boxes and sort the screws and bolts and nuts and washers that people haven't put back in boxes because they were confused what boxes they came from. And I can fix some things they decided aren't worth fixing, like those tape measures with the bent tape and the spray bottles with stuck triggers. And I mean, all you have to do with those is take the misting things out and clean them with some of that wire they hang pictures with. And then there are those hamster wheels. They get stuck, of course, when the hamster... Of course, Sid interrupted, concerned LJ might drown in a stream of his own consciousness. Well, those are excellent meditations, the Buddha thought, especially since he doesn't know he's meditating. Sounds kind of like a meditation, LJ. Just paying it forward, Mr. Sid, LJ said, because, he added, as Sid joined in with the refrain, "You gotta pay it forward, otherwise nobody will pay you back." "And then there are the cats," LJ pointed out. "The cats," Sid nodded. "I'm allergic to them." "Do Renee and Woody know that?" Sid asked, thinking maybe he could do an intervention. "They do, but they have to have cats to catch the mice. And they have to have mice for the cats to eat to keep them from breaking into the bags of cat food." Sid said desperately, trying to keep up with LJ's crazy wisdom. "Why don't they just put out some of the cat food for the cats?" "Because mice taste better," LJ said, in a tone of voice that made it clear. He was surprised that Sid didn't know that. "That's why I protect the new litters of baby mice," he continued, "until they're ready to go off on their own and have cats eat them." LJ is a genius, the Buddha thought. "Good thinking," Sid said, wondering if that was the right word for it. "Well, LJ, you could stay in our office downtown after hours if you want. We have a kitchen and a bathroom there." But then who would arrange the boxes and fix the things that aren't worth fixing and help deal with the cats and mice?" LJ asked, mystified by Sid's suggestion. LJ is a truly enlightened being, the Buddha thought. "You have a point," Sid said. They sat there for a while watching the last reluctant maple leaves float down and rest on the top of the pond, where their bright orange hues slowly melted into the air. "You still look sad, Mr. Sid." "Well, LJ," Sid said, realizing that if anyone could understand how he felt, it was probably LJ. "People don't believe I'm the Buddha. They think I'm just a regular guy with cancer who imagines he's a 2,500-year-old holy man. I guess it doesn't matter, but wouldn't you like people to understand what you're really saying?" "Tell me about it," the Buddha laughed. Sid and LJ were quiet for a long time, so long that Sid began to wonder if LJ had fallen through the crack on the other side of the bench and disappeared into Middle-earth. "It's all about the ducks, Mr. Sid." "The ducks?" Sid asked. "See, most people think ducks just float around all day, not a care in the world," LJ said. "Dive for fish maybe, or go for a walk in the woods, but that's about it." "Sounds like a good life," Sid said. "Yes, Mr. Sid, the best. But what's even better is that when people see them floating, it makes them smile. And when they see them waddling out of the water, it makes them laugh. So you see, a duck can make people smile and laugh. That's more than most people can do." "Right, ducks are truly bodhisattvas," the Buddha agreed. "Are you suggesting I'm a duck out of water?" Sid asked. All three of them laughed, although it wasn't clear if they were laughing at the same thing. "No, it's just that now you're the Buddha, you're more like a duck. People think you're still Mr. Sid, but everywhere you go you make people smile and then make them laugh, just like a duck." "Couldn't have said it better myself," the Buddha thought. "Well, in that case, maybe you're the Buddha too, LJ," Sid said encouragingly. "That's a little more complicated," the Buddha thought. "Oh, no, Mr. Sid. When people see me just sitting around here, they don't smile. They shake their heads and frown, maybe pity me. And when I walk away, they're, well, usually kind of relieved." "Well, that doesn't mean you're not," Sid started to say, before realizing there was nothing to say. Thanks again for listening to The Man Who Woke Up the Buddha. Paid subscribers get paperback copies of Season 1 and 2.